All meeting in order. Everyone please stand and recite the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a presentation of truth and taxation information.
Your Honor, we need roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call, please.
Plot,
Here.
Alt,
Here.
Hibma,
Here.
Shostel,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Briggs,
Here.
Cavalier, Brecken.
Here.
Okay, now we have a presentation of truth and taxation information. Darren, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Keenan, if you want to go ahead and put up the PowerPoint. So yeah, we'll run through the truth and taxation, basically detailing the 2026 budget and what that looks like. So, next slide. Overview of tonight's meeting. Like I said, we'll be discussing the 2026 proposed budget, which will include the revenues and expenditures. We'll discuss the 2026 proposed tax levy, the 2026 budget timelines in preparation for the 2027 budget. We'll discuss the 2026 tax levy impact on residential homes, and we'll obviously provide a forum for public comment. Next slide. So truth and taxation requirement, reason we're here today is the taxation and notification law requires local governments to set estimated levies, inform taxpayers about the impacts, and announce which of their regular scheduled council meetings will include a discussion of the budget and property tax levy. This is applicable to cities with a population greater than 500 and are required by state law to hold a public hearing where property owners are provided an opportunity to address the council, city council, or ask questions regarding the city's tax and spending. Next slide. So this is just a detailed list of the mayor and members of council, each respective ward and each respective council person and their term dates. This along with the PowerPoint will get posted on our city website. So if after the meeting, if anybody does have any additional questions or whatnot, they can obviously contact their respective council person, or next slide, please. We also have a list of the department heads and which respective department that they're in charge of. Same thing there. If after the fact, any members of public or council have any further questions, they can certainly reach out to myself or any respective department head to hopefully answer any other questions they may have. Next slide. So when we talk about budget and council meeting timeline, obviously we weren't afforded this luxury this year, but going into 2026, we certainly will. So May and June timelines, and again, these are tentative. A lot of these dates are set by the state statute, but for working purposes in the House, May to June, we will work on preparing the 2027 budget. And what that looks like is each department head will meet with a finance and city administrator, as we did this year, to go over each of their respective budgets. July to September, the plan is to present the 2027 proposed budgets to city council, like we did this year. And then September 30th, 2027 proposed budget and levy is adopted, like we did this year. That's the deadline set by state statute. November would allow an opportunity into December, but November to review and finalize the 2027 budget. December 1st, again, next year, we'll have a truth and taxation meeting. And then December 29th, we'll adopt the 2027 budget and levy. And if anybody has any questions, council, or that, please just shout them out. Otherwise, I'll just keep moving. Next slide, please. What your city tax levy provides, and this is not all encompassing, this is just in part, but it is a general detail of what your tax levy provides. So 24/7 police and fire protection, snow removal, streets, alleys, public sidewalks, street improvement, cleaning and maintenance. Obviously your water and wastewater services, those are technically not levy services, but those are services the city provides. Building officials, zoning administration, park and rec opportunities, swimming pool, sports center, public library, and municipal airport. Next slide. So this chart, a little busy, but pretty easy to detail. This is a summary of the 2026 revenues. This chart is a balanced budget, the amounts we would need for 2026 for an operating budget. So if we look on the left far column, it says revenue account. And then all of the counts underneath that, so tax levy, franchise taxes, license and permits, et cetera, are each respective revenue source in which we obtain revenue. Along the top is each respective department, so it'd be general fund, finance, elections, building, police, fire, public works, library, public, park and rec, and airport. If you go from left to right, it would be the total, each respective line item, revenues that are received. And then from top to bottom is the totals each respective department receives in revenues. We can go through that a little bit more. So tax levy, the first line on the very top, you'll see general, $2,329,080. And if you follow that across to the library, $306,449, and then park and rec, $1,969,195. So those are your tax levy amounts. The total amount we would need out of tax levies this year to fund our operating is $4,604,724. And you can see that what we do is we take the tax levy dollar amounts and we spread them amongst the general fund. Obviously, the library doesn't have any supportive revenue, so that's paid through tax dollars. And then also park and rec, we just split the tax levies amongst the general budget and park and recs to fund those respective departments. As you move down, you can see franchise fees, and if you have any questions about any of these dollar amounts or where they come from or what they're for, please let me know. License and permits. Another one is the intergovernmental. You'll see $4,571,314. That is the money received for local government aid. And again, each respective department, whether they receive money from state or federal funds, are also tallied in that category. Kind of scrolling down, enterprise fund, water, we are pulling $250,000 from our water enterprise fund to help fund our 2026 budget to kind of, so we don't have to pull as much from tax levies. You can kind of see down wastewater, water revenues. Those are also included in the budget. However, those departments do support themselves. But complete and total revenues, if you go to the far right bottom corner that the city receives, $15,095,486. A little busy, but those are the total revenues that the city receives, whether it's through government funding, taxes, or other. If no questions, next slide, please. So this is just kind of a visual, a nice pie chart, a breakdown of the 2026 revenues. You can see 38% is funded by our levy or tax levy, 6% franchise fees, 43% is intergovernmental, that's also our LGA funds. Enterprise funds, 2%, and other, that'd be everything else on those line items is 11% as a funding source or revenue for the city. Next slide. This is a breakdown of our 2026 levy dollars and non-levy expenditures. So in the far left column, you'll see each respective department and the total amount that each department expenditures cost to run that applicable department. The levy amounts or levy dollars that we receive from tax dollars go to fund all of those respective departments, part of it. If you scroll down all the way to the bottom of that chart where it says miscellaneous, C chart to the right, if you look at the middle top chart, the miscellaneous is those respective departments. So city hall expense, legal expense, Ordinance and proceedings, professional fees and auditing, that's the $319,009 on the miscellaneous departments that I have categorized in the middle. So total levy amount or total budget of levy money is $12,365,736. On the far right top column, those are departments that do not require levy funds to support. They are enterprise funds or have revenue sources that are self-sufficient. You see on the top, central garage, flood control project, Valley Tech Park, wastewater, and water. If you add the total expenditures from the left column of the levy dollars that are needed to fund or help fund those departments, and the far top right column of non-levy amounts, you'll see the total operating budget is $15,095,486,000, same as the revenue sources that we need to fund the entire budget. They balance themselves out. Next slide, please. This is a detailed list of our 2026 capital improvement projects. Again, we have discussed this in previous budget meetings, but again, this is a detailed list. If you remember, I did present a capital improvement projects with all of the respective or wish list and needs. And then we did go back to the drawing board and we made significant reductions. And this is the final capital improvement project list that we came up with. So airport, crack sealing, lawn mowing, administrative fees, $173,500. Fire department turnout gear, fire apparatus fund, $107,000. Finance department, replace, update some office furniture for $1,500. Information technology, Verge.io hardware licensing, installation training for that hardware, and then 3-year workstation replacement, $147,500. Police department, squad car and vehicle emergency equipment for $75,000. Park and Rec, vehicles, equipment, John Deere mower lease, which is an annual payment of $57,500. Park and Rec Sports Center, we have a Zamboni battery replacement fund of $5,000 each year. Public Works Streets, payloader lease, and street light reserve fund for $59,000. Public Works, again, water main replacements, internet and control upgrades. Water main replacements, those are funded every year. Those are when water main breaks or something else has to be repaired. $325,000, and then wastewater, sewer line replacement, sewer main, manhole rehab, rip-rap, which we always do every year, and some other projects through AE2S, $535,000 for a total of $1,486,000. I believe, if you recall, the initial amount was like $7 million. So we really did significant reductions in capital improvements for the 2026 budget. Next slide, please. Again, just a visual. This is a breakdown of each respective department for the most part and what percentage of the budget they consume. Police 26, Park and Rec 20, Public Works 14%, Airport 3%, Library 3%, Fire and EM 9%, and then General Fund, which would be all the other accounts or departments or budgets not listed, is 25%. Next slide. Again, just a nice historical levy data from the city of Crookston dating back to 2017. You can kind of see historically what the levy increases have been. Top line 2026, again, it is to be determined, but we did set the preliminary levy at 8%. And then you can see each year what percentage we increase the levy to support the budget. Next slide. So here's a little bit breakdown just to kind of easier understand or kind of sum up the entire budget. So the 2026 budget comparison. So the 2025 budget, and again, these are levy dollar amounts that go to fund these budgets. This does not include water, wastewater. Like I said, those are self-sufficient. Those are enterprise funds. The budget that needs our LGA and tax dollars to fund for 2025 was $12,077,732. 2026 proposed $12,365,736. An increase from 25 of $288,004 or 2.38%. Doing the levy comparison in the middle chart, our 2025 levy amounts, $4,486,171. We did set the proposed levy at 8%. That would increase the levy to $4,845.65, or an additional $358,894 from 2025. On the last chart on the bottom, 2026 actual. Again, the 25 levy amount was $4,486,171. What we have in the proposed budget to balance our budget currently is $4,604,724, or an increase of $118,553 from 2025, or an increase in the levy of 2.65%. If you remember, during the budget discussion, then we set our preliminary budget at 8%. Again, remember, we can always go down, we can't go up from that. At that point, we needed 3.83%, or $171,570 to balance our budget. Since then, with the work of the department heads and everybody again, I've gone through the budgets, was able to make some other budget cuts, and we reduced it from 3.83% to the 2.65% you see on this chart. So we were able to reduce the budget by $53,017, or 1.18%. Next slide, please. And again, here's just a nice visual, kind of do the math for you, for the public and for further consideration as we approach the deadline of December 29th to finalize the budget. Just what a levy increase would look like in dollar amounts. And again, this is estimated, but it's close, very, very close. Again, the city of Crookston right now, to balance their budget, we would need an additional $118,553. So as you can see, a 3% increase would balance our budget with a surplus of $16,030. 4%, same thing, an additional $60,891. 5%, and I went to 8% and 10%. You can see what that would look like to balance our budget. What those dollar amounts or increases in the levy would, the dollar amounts that they would generate. Next slide, please.
You said that to interrupt when you.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So you don't feel alone in this.
No, you're good.
Thank you for.
It's very quiet in here. I'm just slow. I'm trying to just slow go through each slide. Yeah.
So I just want to go back to something you said before, that we have reserves. You had mentioned in the amount of $10 million, if I understood that correctly, but it's principal, we can't just utilize that, so we have interest off that. I just want to.
So those are what we have in our investment accounts.
Can you describe what that means?
So anytime that we have a surplus of money or in our reserves, whether they're generated from water, wastewater, or reserves from each year, we put them in investment accounts so that we can accrue interest on that money instead of just sitting in a bank savings account.
And that is money outside of our normal operating budget. It's there. We don't use that.
So the breakdown of that, what's difficult, and we'll have our 24 audit completed by the end of the year, so we'll be able to give you a breakdown of what's restricted and unrestricted, is a very deceiving amount. Out of that $10 million, it might be only that $2 million of it is unrestricted, meaning that we could use back for general fund operation or whatever council decides. Most of those funds are restricted for certain projects or certain expenditures. Such as if we receive a grant or funds to replace a street, it can only be used for that. Sometimes through tax dollars or different things, we receive money, it's restricted to spend on only certain projects.
Does that restricted money, does that fall under, so your police cars, the fire trucks, stuff that you're setting aside for years at a time to replace things, but then?
That would be part of it. One example, we receive, I'll just use the police department for an example, we receive funds from the state on vehicles that we may forfeit. That fund or that dollar amount can only go back to support DWI enforcement. So there's a large amount there, but we can't use it to replace a street or fix a door or something. It can only go for certain projects. So you're absolutely right. If we have a reserved account for, say, an apparatus fund for a fire truck, I mean, council could move them around, but technically that's what that monies would be set for. And I know you've been looking for this answer and I'm trying to get it for you, but when we complete the audit, the 2024 audit, we should be able to get you, or we will be able to get you those accounts with the restricted and unrestricted funds.
And the point being is that we're not broke.
We have money, but again, certain money can only be used for certain things. So operation, it might be tight.
But in here, resonating things, me being in this council, which has been very, very short, we always go back to, we have no money, we have no money, we have no money.
So when we talk about that mainly, I think what we're talking about is general operating funds. A lot of times we have pulled from reserves to pay for capital improvement expenditures or other operating. In years past, there has been years where we haven't included capital improvement projects in our general budget. And a lot of times, again, these budgets are estimates, right? And if we fall short on some revenues or overspend because of something breaking or something happening, and then we go over budget, then we have to pull from reserves to fund that. So again, typically in a budget, you know, you're hoping you have a surplus at the end of the year to fund your reserve accounts. But again, on tight budgets and when we're really trying to cut it by the wire, sometimes that's not always a possibility.
And we're also,
We also, the reserve fund in our charter, we're supposed to have enough to fund the city for 6 months, and that's
That's a good point too, and we're short on, I mean,
We're way out of compliance, well, from what the estimates that we've got, we're way out of compliance.
and that might be right where we're at right now with our reserve fund. We should have about 40% of our operating budget in reserves. And I'm not sure if we're there yet. So again, when you take that into consideration, thank you for pointing that out. It may look like we have a significant revenues, but again, earmarking certain percentages for, if we didn't get LGA or something one year to support a budget, it can be very deceiving, so. Thank you for the question. Okay, next slide, please. So this is just a breakdown of state and area proposed levies. Currently, Minnesota City's average is 8.7%. County's average is 8.1%. And I picked area cities and also cities in Polk County. And then cities of similar size within a couple hour radius. This again is proposed levy amounts. Next slide. So here is an estimate of what a levy impact would be on a residential home value of $150,000. These estimates are based on residential homestead classification, and they only include Crookston tax levy. So going from the top column, left to right, you can see 2026 estimate at 4%. On a $150,000 home, if we increase levy 4%, it would actually be a negative balance in tax dollars, savings. If we set the levy at 5%, it'd be an annual difference of $2 or 16 cents a month. If we set it at 8%, it'd be an annual cost of $35 or $2.92 a month. If we set it at 10%, it'd be $56 a year, or $4.67 a month on a $150,000 residential homesteaded house. Next slide, please. Same slide, just on a $250,000 house. And again, these are Crookston only taxes without special assessments based on homestead classification. If we increased 2026 levy by 4 points, it'd be a reduction of $14 a year in their annual taxes. We set it at 5%, be an annual increase of $7 or 58 cents a month. We set it at 8%, $69 annual increase or $5.75 monthly. If we set it at 10%, it'd be $111 annually or $9.25 a month. Next slide, please. So next steps, obviously we'll open the forum here after this presentation for any public comment. But we have a special council meeting scheduled for December 29th. At that point, council would adopt or needs to adopt the 2026 budget and tax levy amount. And then that night, we also certify our budget and tax levy with Polk County. Last slide. That is all I have. Certainly open it for questions, or Mayor, if you want to open for public comment, or.
Thank you, Darren. Any comment from the chambers? Council, any questions?
Just a comment, I think the slides, when you look at the average homes, I think that's very, very helpful. The percent increases was a nice comparison. We don't have to think about, you know, the numbers in our heads, so 150,000 and then more expensive houses. And I'm not sure why the 10% is on there, because we can't go higher, we can go lower.
No, you know, and the reason I did that is I just got an average spread. When I was working on the budget, you know, I started 4.5 and then I just went to 8 or 10, just kind of on the high side. So these, I just,
Like
from minimum to like,
would have been if.
yeah, worst case scenario.
And and one of the reasons why we had the 8% is that then we could have extra monies to put aside to build reserves just in case they were low, getting back to your comment earlier. And
Hoping that we were able to balance the budget. And then also, you know, if we do set the levy at a reasonable amount that can fund this budget and possibly have a little in reserve, again, that helps for any unanticipated expenses or something else that would come up.
Further questions?
I'd really like to stay away from our maximum. I know that's why we set it where we did. But I also know that we can't continue the way that we've been doing in the past to do the bare minimum just to get by, and not be sticking money away for the future. So I definitely would like to avoid doing the bare minimum just to break even.
I think what's nice about this too is, you know, we do have some time for each council person to take this under advisement. And then again, on the 29th, come back for further discussion. And again, I think each one of you have this PowerPoint, we will post that on our website, so.
Anything else? Okay, I'll adjourn this meeting. Okay, we'll call the council meeting to order. Since we already did the pledge of allegiance, we'll just go into roll call. Ashley, please.
Schlot,
Here.
Alt. Here. Pivma. Here. Chastel.
Here.
Fisher.
Here.
Briggs.
Here.
Cavalier. Bracken.
Here.
Okay, it's time for the open forum. If anyone would like to address council on any issue not already on tonight's agenda, may come to the podium, state your first, last name and address, please. Hearing nothing from the chambers. Anybody on the phone bridge, please?
Nobody on the phone bridge, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, no presentations or public information. This brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add or remove anything from tonight's agenda? Can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Thank you. Henry and Joseph, thank you. Discussion. Hearing none, let's have roll call, please.
Schlot.
Aye.
Alt. Aye. Pivma. Aye. Chastel.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Bracken.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. This brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda?
Your Honor, it was brought to my attention that a resolution was omitted from the original council packet. I've attached, the attachments were included, but the resolution itself is missing. So the packet is now updated to include the resolution, and its corrected version is available online for everyone to view.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Morgan. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Your Honor.
Ed Delane, thank you. Roll call, please.
Schlot.
Aye.
Alt.
Aye.
Pivma.
Aye.
Chastel.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Bracken.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. No public hearings, regular agenda. Ashley, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 8.01 is a resolution regarding the approval of the Minnesota paid leave policy.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So.
Thank you, Henry. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Wendy. Discussion. Darren,
Yeah, just in sum, the state of Minnesota, as we all know, hasn't enacted the Minnesota Paid Leave program. It's a state administered insurance program overseen by Minnesota DEED or Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. Program, Minnesota Paid Leave begins January 1st. It's applicable to most workers who earn more than $3,900 in Minnesota wages will be covered under this program. Eligible employees may receive up to 12 weeks of medical leave and 12 weeks of family medical leave within 1 year or benefit year, not to exceed a combined of 20 weeks. Beginning January 1st, the Minnesota Paid Leave Program rate is 0.88% of each $100 of each employee wages. That would be split equally between the employer and the employee, requiring the city of Crookston to contribute 0.44% as required by statute or law and deduct 0.44% from each employee's wages.
So this is not a choice, is it?
This is not a choice. This is a new law.
So why is it on a resolution to approve?
Because we need to deduct wages and pay wages, or pay for this program. So again, the 0.44% citywide, it's ballpark about $25,000 that would cost the city, about the same back in employees. And again, like I said, an employee may qualify to take up 12 weeks of family medical leave, which has already been in place under Family Medical Leave Act. You can, take up to 12 weeks, but it's unpaid. You would have to use leave. On the Minnesota Paid Leave Program, you could take up to 12 weeks. And then an additional 8 weeks for a qualifying family member. Under this program, the state administered by DEED would pay up to 90% of their wages. So in total, an employee could be gone for 20 weeks.
So it costs the city how much?
About $25,000 a year,
So this starts at 26?
January 1st,
Do we have this built into our budget?
correct.
Okay.
further discussion. Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Schlot.
Aye.
Alt.
Aye.
Pivma.
Aye.
Shostel,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Brecken.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.02 is the second and final reading of an ordinance amending the City of Crookston zoning ordinance, Chapter 152.65B and Chapter 152.65B, allowing slaughterhouses in the heavy industrial zone I-1, Your Honor.
Thank you. Already had a first and second.
We need to because you guys brought it back, so we need to have a motion and a second.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve this
I'll
ordinance?
make that motion.
Thank you,
I'll second
Derek. And Clayton, thank you. Discussion. Darren, please.
This ordinance is just back in front of council for a vote.
Okay, further discussion?
We've discussed this a lot, and I'm ready to go. However, I was thinking about this earlier, and I thought, if this had been brought to the attention of the council without any of the stuff that's gone on previously, someone just said, I have this idea for a business, and I think it would go well here, a small slaughterhouse. And I think, I'm guessing the majority of the council here would just say, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. It's just, I think what happened, what took up most of the discussion was that it didn't happen that way. Something was already being built, and then there was some approval to do it, and then wondering if that approval was actually okayed at the higher level, and then all this stuff that went on, and then, but again, if you remove all of that and just think the promise of doing a business in an area, someone's willing to take a stake in this, I think the majority of people would just say, yes, it's a good idea to have business. There are some concerns, like with any business, and to me, the biggest concern would be not a lot of the things that we talked about, not even the USDA approval, because some of the people I've talked to, they said, we just have to have a grade 2, and I can still use it to slaughter bison. I think that's a great thing, is what they were saying. My only concern, whenever you put a contingency, then you have to have someone policing that, which is, who's gonna do that, which was brought up the other day, which I think was good. You can't just have contingencies without having a policy, policing that. And I think it's really about this, people who know slaughterhouses, it's just about smell, and if there's a carcass there. So the only thing I can think about that's a negative is that if you have carcasses outside for a long period of time, and then they're gonna smell. And that just, we go on the faith, I don't know, maybe that's not a good idea, that somehow that's not gonna happen based upon what's been told to us. But then I think, business, people willing to venture out and do good work, I think is a plus for the community. And I know that there are always drawbacks with everything, but it's just too bad that most of our conversation has been built up just about two opposing parties, which I think is too bad. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Let's have roll call, please.
Lot,
Aye.
Alt. Aye. Hibma. Aye. Shostel,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Brecken.
Aye.
Okay, this ordinance is adopted. Motion.
It will be adopted when we have it published in the paper, Your Honor. So it is passed, but
Okay.
once it is finalized and published, then it will.
All right, thank you.
Item 8.03 is discussion regarding closing city offices at noon on Christmas Eve, Wednesday, December 24th, 2025, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. This is just a discussion item. Darren, any comments on this?
Yeah, we have done this in the past, Your Honor. The request is, again, just to close city offices. This would allow each employee, if they chose, to take leave for the afternoon or work the afternoon. This is just to close city offices. This isn't granting any, pay or leave. It would require the employees to use leave to take the afternoon off, but again, just to close the offices so we have that opportunity.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? I'm okay with it. I guess, we've got,
Is there a minimal number of employees? As far as they're not gonna have it open and have one person here.
No, we would close all city offices. Yeah. So obviously, our first responders or essential employees would still be staffing or be staffed there, but the actual office portion would be closed. So again, it would apply to, city offices. Again, they would have to use leave, and if they chose not to, they could certainly work that day. Office would still be closed.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I mean, you know, it's, got employees with kids, and if they're gonna do a church service later in the day or evening, so I think we've done this in the past, so. Consensus is okay?
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, council reports. Anything else, Darren?
No, again, Your Honor, I have attached my report to the council agenda. If there are any questions, obviously, I'm happy to answer those. Otherwise, no, sir.
All right, thank you. Wendy, anything tonight?
Nothing for me.
Thank you. Delane?
Just want to thank all the council members for, had a lot of debates on going through the budget. I think they were healthy debates. And again, I think we did as good a job as we possibly could on balancing this budget and trying to keep the levy down as much as possible, but it's tough, and still, we still gotta figure out a way to start putting more money towards our capital improvement plans, and then also getting our, once we get the number, our unrestricted revenues to a healthy place again, and being able to see what that unrestricted revenue is monthly, if not at minimum quarterly. But I think the council did a good job, so thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Delane. Derek?
Yeah, if anyone has comments, questions, concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to us. That's what we're here for. And congratulations, Brent. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Nothing to report. Everybody else pretty much said the same. I would say so.
Henry?
Nothing for me, Your Honor.
Thank you. Joseph?
I concur, congrats. It's been a good discussion. I know we don't always agree, but I think that's healthy. I think that's fine. I had someone contact me in my district, ward, and then to go over, take a look at a building. They heard our discussion of our ideas for development of the city. We had that presentation the other day, and so they invited me to a tour of their building on Second Street and show the possibilities of taking an old building and converting it over into repurposing it. And it was actually really enlightening. It was it made it seem like we can do this. That helped me a lot.
Great. Thank you. Morgan?
Just two quick things. So we, the childcare strategic group, met in November. It was a good meeting. It was one of our shortest ones. We meet with First Amendment Finance. Looked at discussions on different places where daycares could go and open up, and also looked at how we can help grow that. Also, for everybody listening and watching, and spread the news for Save the Date for January 29th. Cheetah in the, will be sponsoring and supporting an open group for all council members to go and department heads, inviting the public to come and meet with us, see with us, so anybody that would like to join from the council and department heads, to meet with the public and kind of make it this place in a welcoming area where you can come, ask any questions, find out about projects that we have going on in the town. That is January 29th from 4:30 to 7 p.m. At the Crookston Indian Convention Center.
Thank you, Morgan. Yeah, just kind of a feedback with Morgan here. Says for City Council Member Booth, we also invite you to share about yourself and focus on a few ward highlights, local accomplishments, favorite places or points of pride that help showcase unique strength across all 6 wards. So, I guess if you got any great things, I guess maybe just contact
think Taylor and Carrie said they'd be
Taylor, aye.
willing to help put anything together. We hope that everyone will be able to join. This is something we, at the last GITA meeting, discussed and we'll be sponsoring, and it should be exciting.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun time out there. Thank you, Morgan, for reminding us of this meeting. Darren too, hats off to you starting this budget stuff in the 11th hour. It seems to be our MO the last few years, and you did a fantastic job, and I thank you tremendously to get us through this.
Thank you, and I got a shout out to all, everyone who helped, from when Holly was here to our current finance team, Ashley, Miranda, Tiana, Vance. Tiana with the Minnesota paid leave, that was a big task, including policy revision and everything through that, so I certainly can't take credit alone. It was definitely a group effort and continued, and, but I appreciate it, thank you.
I guess I better give a hats off to the department heads too.
For sure, yep,
Helping
for
us
everyone.
out. Yes. Just a reminder, we are not having a Ways and Means tonight, so nothing else become before council. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.